After 10 million cold calls, thousands of real land seller conversations, and watching clients close over $20 million in land transactions last year, the biggest lesson from 2025 isn't about marketing. It's not about AI. It's not even about getting deals under contract. It's this: it's easier to acquire land than it is to sell it. And that one fact quietly changed everything. The market reality that no one wants to say out loud. Across almost every serious operator we talked to in 2025, the pattern was the same. Contracts are still available, sellers were still reachable, but dispositions slowed. Buyers got pickier, inventory took longer to turn. In other words, acquisitions didn't die, liquidity did. When inventory turns slow, the game changes. Follow up matters more than volume, timing matters more than clever copy, capital matters more than ego. This is where operations quietly break, not loudly, but quietly. Here's the first hard truth: the channel matters less than the response. Cold call, mail, text, referral, inbound, doesn't matter. What matters is this: how fast do you respond to a real seller that shows interest? We watched operator after operator lose deals, not because the seller said no, but because no one followed up for 2 weeks, or the note was bad, or the context was lost, or the seller wasn't ready that day, and nobody stayed with them for the next 45. That's not a sales problem. That's an operating problem. Next lesson: follow up is where deals are actually won now. Here's something most people don't want to hear. A huge percentage of winning deals in 2025 closed 45 to 60 days after their first contact. Not the same day, not the first call, but weeks later. Sometimes after multiple missed calls, sometimes after months of silence, sometimes after the seller said, "Hey, call me later." The operators who won were not more persuasive. They were the ones who were more patient and more consistent. They didn't lose the thread. The deals don't die from rejection, they die from neglect. Next lesson we learned: spray and pray is getting punished. It's another shift we saw clearly. Broad targeting stopped working the way it used to. Blanket list, loose buy boxes, just hit more people. That worked when liquidity was high and when mailers were working. It doesn't work when buyers are picky. Now the market rewards tighter buy boxes, demand aware markets, pricing discipline, and better judgment upstream. The penalty for buying the wrong property is higher now. Small flaws matter more. Undesirable properties sit longer. Bad assumptions compound faster. Judgment errors are just more expensive. Next lesson: capital discipline is the new competitive advantage. This was another uncomfortable truth from 2025. Operators who survived and grew had real operating reserves, lower fixed overhead, and patience. We heard the same advice repeatedly from serious people. Protect your net profit. Don't scale overhead early. Assume it takes 6 months to see some real income. Gross revenue is a vanity metric when inventory doesn't move. Cash flow is what keeps teams alive. Next lesson: running this like a business isn't optional anymore. The era of motivation is over. And what replaced it? KPIs, QA, call reviews, process, consistency, automations. The operators still winning in 2025 weren't hyped. They were boring. They knew their numbers. They controlled their workflows. They didn't rely on memory or heroics. They just built systems that work, even when they were tired. Next lesson: where AI actually helped and where it didn't. And here's the honest truth about AI. AI didn't magically close more deals. What it did do, when used correctly, was remove operational fragility. We saw operators compress hours of manual work into minutes, standardize their judgment, eliminate missteps, and keep pipelines alive longer. The best use of AI wasn't persuasion, it was consistency. AI worked best when it captured conversations, documented context, enforced follow-up, and surfaced what mattered next. In other words, AI didn't replace judgment, it protected it. Next lesson: the pattern beneath all of this. After all the calls, all the conversations, all the transactions, Here's the pattern that kept showing up. The winners weren't reaching more people at volume, they were losing fewer deals. They controlled conversations across time. They stayed present when sellers weren't ready today. They didn't let leads slip through the cracks. That's it. Not hacks, no secrets, no magic channels, just disciplined execution over time. Here's why we built what we built. This is the context in which we built Land AI, not as a lead generator, not as a CRM, not as some flashy AI product, but as infrastructure to eliminate quiet failure, to make sure follow up doesn't decay, context doesn't disappear, timing doesn't get missed, and operators spend time only where deals actually exist. Because in this market, systematic judgment beats just working harder. The final lesson from 2025, if I had to summarize everything we learned into one line, it would be this: the deals you lose quietly matter more than the ones that you lose loudly. 2025 punished sloppiness, it rewarded discipline, and it made one thing very clear: the future of this business belongs to operators who control time, not just leads. That's the lesson. That's what the data says, and that's what we're building for.